All right, so we continue to look at the power crisis from all different angles, and this is our own vantage point here from the highest building, the Leonardo Hotel in Sandton. The sun going down, and you can see that some of the lights are actually on now, but this is because, of course, we were talking about some are more fortunate than others. Generators are working, but we are still being load shed, and that is expected to continue until 6 o'clock. What can be done about a lack of 4,000 to 6,000 megawatts at the moment? That's why we've seen stage 4 to stage 6 rolling blackouts. Some say renewable energy is the key, and South Africa is really hoping to move away from the so-called dirty energy, coal energy, that still accounts for about 80% of our power needs. So let's look at the plans, the IRP 2019, the Integrated Resource Plan, looking at the country's needs until 2030. It envisages coal going down to 43%, wind accounting for 22.5%, solar 10.5%, and then some from battery storage as well. Could a real push towards renewable energy reduce our woes, at least what we're experiencing right now? Let's speak to some of the people who would know how to answer this. We're joined by the founder of DNG Energy, that's Aldworth Mbalathi. We are joined by Energy and Infrastructure Finance Specialist, MD of Rubik, Ruse Moleshe. Thank you for being with us. And Niveshen Govender, the CEO of the South African Wind Energy Association. Let me start with you, Niveshen. Because of where we are, government has tried to do something. There was an emergency procurement round. So we wanted more energy onto the grid. The minister said that renewables should not be part of that. Renewables are not emergency energy. So you can comment on that. And then we got car power ships taking the bulk of that, but that's in litigation. We had new bidders for renewable energy. That was shortly thereafter. But only 150 megawatts has come online, and a lot of delays, a lot of litigation.
Thank you for the question, Francis. You're absolutely right. So we saw the risk mitigation IPP procurement program come out, requiring the 4 gigawatts of power that we were looking for. Renewable energy was not supposed to bid in that round. Against the odds, renewable energy found its place together with battery storage and was able to bid. We were actually able to bid the cheapest tariffs in that round. There is red tape. There are bureaucratic processes that are in play. We need to look at it collectively to ensure that we can get these projects online quicker. I think there's various reasons. So we're not going to play the blame game. We're going to all take responsibility of ensuring that we meet the energy crisis needs, and we're all going to play our role in making sure that we can generate as quickly as possible.
All right, that's a good positive start. Aldworth, you were actually involved in bidding. You weren't happy with car power ships. Are you willing to give us some of that background? That is one of the hold-ups that people keep on talking about, this dispute around whether car power ships should be supplying us with energy. And by the way, if you're watching, that would be the Turkish bidder that would come bring these ships offshore and basically plug into our grid.
Well, thank you for having me tonight. Just to clarify an issue, we never fought with car power. We fought against the process in terms of how it unfolded. And let's dwell on the positive for a second. I mean, we're pro-South African as a business. It is not fun to see our country go dark. We believe that everyone should have lights. Every time that you do not have power, it is someone that is losing a job. It is someone that is not getting to work on time. It is someone's family that is not getting to feed their child. It is someone not studying well enough. So as a pro-South African business, we believe that there should be dispatchable power brought online by the right entities in order to serve our community. So that is what we stand for as a business. And every action that we take, we are not taking it to the detriment for our people, but it is to make sure that we contribute positively into this country.
Okay, if car power ships wasn't there, what do you offer? What do you believe is a quick short-term solution? Because many are saying that's what we need, and that would come online if we declared an energy emergency.
Look, there are a few solutions that one can look at, right? We always talk about an energy mix. We are gas people. However, if you look at it from a pragmatic perspective, as my colleague here has said, you have renewables, and you have renewables that have come on stream from bid window 1 up until bid window 5, let's say. Those renewables have artificial caps on them in order to elongate the number of hours that they can produce, they can put energy into the grid. If you remove that cap, our guesstimate is that you can have between 700 and 1,000 megawatts into the grid. Issue a quick RFP in terms of all those companies that have put renewables into the grid. Add that with battery storage. You have a few thousand megawatts into the grid, and it is not costing you too much. You don't have permitting issues.
Can you explain this cap? As I understand it, if renewables come online, they can only give, or it's only recorded that they can give a third of the power of a coal-fired station, for example. Are you talking about that or something else?
Look, it is, if you look at the sun, for example, it is a bell curve, right? So you've got limited sun in the morning, limited sun in the afternoon. And during the course of the day, midday, for example, let's use that as an arbitrary time.
Yes.
That is where you've got the peak demand. But in order for you to say, I've got 75 megawatts that I'm taking into the grid, you want to optimize the amount of time that you have 75 megawatts into the grid. And how do you do that? You overcapacitate your plant. So let's say you're putting 100 megawatts into the system, and the rest of the power is lost, it's not consumed. So I'm saying remove that cap. If you remove that cap and you add batteries to it, you end up having a system where you have some form of dispatchable power or some form of energy that can be stored and that you can use round about this time for peak shaving. And you can do that as low-hanging fruit. I mean, secondly, you've got people that can afford solar PV. We're sitting in Sandton right now, and why don't you move to a program where you allow those people to say, I will sell back electricity to the municipality at 75% of Megaflex. Let the municipality still make money while you're in the office. Your house can be powering your office, and if you have excess capacity, you can store that in batteries. So the renewables are not a bad thing. They are actually a great thing because the sun is there for us. What we do as an energy business or as a gas business is to come and plug in the holes where renewables are not able to fulfill. When the wind is not blowing and batteries are not there and the sun is not there, we supply a service of dispatchable power to make sure that you have a base load environment. And that is how you achieve a low levelized cost for the nation, and you take a prudent path in terms of making sure that our kids get a clean environment from an air perspective, and making sure that they don't have a debt burden in terms of importing large quantities of fuel that we may not necessarily need. So we believe in a wise basket of energies that allows us to make sure that South Africa is free from load shedding.
Jose, you can comment on anything that's been brought up here. Maybe gas being an integral part of the energy mix. South Africa has accepted that. But look at what is going on in Europe, and we don't have access to a lot of gas, as far as I understand it. They were importing from Russia, now Germany switching on its coal-fired stations. Talk about that. And then when it comes to renewables, we are behind many countries in the world. Why do you believe that is?
Thank you, Francis. Thank you to the viewers for the opportunity. I agree with what my colleagues are saying with respect to renewable energy capacity that can be brought online as quickly as we possibly can, given the situation that we are in today. So there is a huge role that renewable energy projects can play in that space, together with storage. However, I agree also there will be a need for power to anchor those, which will be gas. We, however, still relatively a long way from getting that on stream as quickly as we possibly can. So it would be pragmatic then to see the resources that can be brought on stream as soon as possible to try and push for all the bottlenecks there. And I think that because of the constraints that we see with Eskom as a utility, with government and guarantees and all of that, that comes with the renewable energy IPP procurement program, I think that the private sector, which has the capacity and the capability to use their balance sheet to bring on stream their own projects, should be one of the players that are really considered, and government should continue to play a role to facilitate for that to happen as quickly as it possibly
So
can.
will that involve bringing down the 100 megawatt cap?
I don't think that
lower?
the cap should be brought down. I don't, not necessarily married to any cap, because a private sector entity that uses
the cap.
that uses their own balance sheet and can decide what is most feasible for them will help reduce the burden on Eskom, because Eskom is currently struggling. They are using a lot of diesel, which is expensive. So if any entity can come in and reduce the need for power, that will help South Africa in general.
Niveshen, the National Planning Commission is saying that the President should declare an energy emergency, and then it should all be about generating 10,000 megawatts of new capacity, 5,000 megawatts of storage. In terms of the people who are part of your organization, those who provide wind, solar energy, how readily available is that energy? How many companies are there chomping at the bit to get involved if things move more quickly? And the general consensus is it'll take about 2 years anyway, but if we start now, in 2 years' time, where can we be if we get a lot of renewable energy on board?
Francis, a week ago, as the Wind Energy Association, we put out a call for a comprehensive plan as to how we combat this energy crisis. We've seen 6 plans come out in the last week. What's interesting about that is that all of the people putting out the plans don't necessarily have the decision-making power of implementing those plans. And the other interesting fact we picked up was that it's very exclusive plan. So it's very to the entity that is putting out the plan. So it's not consultative, it's not inclusive, and really what we need now is leadership from government to sit in the same room. We want presidency, we want the DMRE, we want Eskom, we want DPE, DFFE, DTIC, IPP office, all sitting in the same room and agreeing to an energy plan that we can implement as the country. And all of them then readying their departments to ensure that they facilitate the rollout of that plan. And currently we're not seeing that kind of leadership. In terms of renewable energy, we have a huge sector here in South Africa. We've built capacity over the last 10 years as the REAP program has happened. We've also built capacity outside of the REAP program with commercial, industrial, residential application of technology. The industry is there. There are companies and people waiting in the wings to come into the sector and are just looking for that opportunity of a direct plan that's coming from government, a vision that says this is the route we're going on for energy security, so people then know how to plan their businesses to make sure that they are part of that.
Do you agree? Let's get final comments. Do we need an energy emergency right now, Jose?
We do need an intervention that is a cohesive plan. I agree that government puts together, taking into account all the input that is there, because input tend to be driven by certain interests. So government should look at a plan that puts out there for everybody to try to follow.
Aldworth?
Look, it is long overdue in terms of having an emergency. Every day, as I said, every day that you have load shedding, it costs. I know a family member that lost someone because they were on oxygen suffering from COVID, and their machine couldn't work, and simply because of load shedding. It is costing
Load shedding
lives.
can be fatal.
It is fatal, and it is fatal in more ways than one. So yes, I understand an issue of an emergency, but I would want to have a clarion call to say, let's go beyond an emergency. What is it that we can do as energy professionals in this country in terms of not being a DNG person, not being a whatever business person, but to be really thoughtful, as my colleague has been saying, to say, how do we make South Africa better? How do we contribute in terms of this crisis? Yes, we are here to earn a living, but at the same time, right now, South Africa matters more. If you don't have a country, how are you going to earn a living?
Yeah.
And right now, I believe that we need to have sober minds in terms of finding practical solutions that allows us to get out of the mess that we're in.
All right, thank you all for being part of this discussion tonight. DNG Energy, the founder, Aldworth Mbalathi, thank you very much. Ruse Moleshe, Energy and Infrastructure Finance Specialist, MD of Rubik and CEO of the South African Wind Energy Association, Niveshen Govender. Thank you very much.